did you have struggles as you were growing up, like from a teenager onward? Did you find it hard to just come out and say, I like big girls and I'm going to date who I want to date regardless of what anybody says?
Well, I had gone through it before because I grew up in a segregated community. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the 8th grade, in Sunday school class one day we were talking, and I said I would not automatically exclude a black person as a dating or marriage partner.
Right.
Well, after I made that statement in a segregated community, in a segregated church, and where I went to a segregated school, anything else I was to say about women was not likely to be difficult to do.
Oh, okay. So basically it was better off, they accepted more if you dated a fat white person than if you dated a black person. Was it more accepted?
I never actually, because the way my life worked out, I never actually dated for an extended length of time any non-white person. It just didn't happen. One of the things I had was when I first realized I was interested in fat women, my problem was I felt guilty not to be seen in public with them, but to say, but even though I prefer to date a large woman for the sake of the woman, don't I have a responsibility to help them get thin, because being thin is healthy, and it's not fair to me for me to enjoy something which is bad for the other person.
Oh,
but then as I studied things further, I realized that if a person is fat, basically all attempts to change the situation make the situation worse. If I tell people, I say, if somebody says go on a diet, the proper response is, and the accurate response is, why should I be fatter? Because diets tend to make people fatter over the long run. So once I realized that trying to help somebody get thin would only make them fatter, then I could sit back and enjoy the company of the beautiful woman I was with and not feel guilty.
You know, I understand that because there's this wonderful web board, and I have to give them a plug, Dimensions Magazine. So everybody, if you're ever interested in
I appear on it frequently.
Right. If you're ever interested in reading some of the forums there or going there and checking things out, there was a really interesting thread in the forums where it talks about a man who basically is an essay. And, you know, it's so difficult that for him, because he has this beautiful, gorgeous fat woman, right? And then, you know, she doesn't like being fat, right? She does not appreciate her body. So what happened is, you know, they were sitting down having a regular evening, and the woman sees another plus-size woman on TV, and she's saying, oh, she's fat, blah, 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 and making these disparaging remarks about the plus-size woman. And he says, well, I think she looks great. And they get into a conversation about how his girlfriend doesn't like being heavy because her legs rub together and all these different things. She really does not enjoy her body. And then he realizes that everything he loves about this woman, she hates about herself. And he feels guilty inside and has cried over it because he realizes, I don't want her to lose weight. I love her. I want her to stay just exactly the way she is. I am so in love with her body. I'm so in love with her. And she wants to lose weight. And it's so upsetting for an FA because, I mean, a lot of people will say you should love somebody no matter what, which is true. Okay, loving somebody no matter what. But the thing is, I know personally, okay, and like I've been saying every week since the show, I prefer a darker-skinned man, okay? And that's just my preference. I know I would be highly upset if my dark-skinned man decided he wanted to bleach himself and get a nose job and trim his nose down and turn into a Michael Jackson. And then I'm supposed to just be satisfied with this. I dated him, one, because he was physically appealing to me. He was dark-skinned, and plus he had this wonderful personality. Ooh, great, this is a keeper. I'm going to keep him, okay? Then he tells me I don't like being dark-skinned, so I'm going to bleach myself, and I'm going to perm my hair straight, and then I'm going to cut my nose off, and I'm going to have him do a lip reduction. I don't think I would be very happy. So I kind of understand the same mentality that some FAs may have, that they find this beautiful big round woman, and she's everything they want and desire, and then she wants to lose weight, and they're like, I'm not going to be attracted to you anymore once you lose weight. I mean, I'll be attracted to your personality, but physically you're not exactly what I wanted. I thought I found perfection, and now you want to change. And I think it's so important for FAs who need to have that plump body to be satisfied physically, that they really need to find the right woman who is satisfied with herself. I mean, would you agree with me, Russell?
I am thinking, basically, yes. The other part of that is, as if what often first attracts a man to a woman is the whole package, hopefully. I know my father said that he was riding back from a dance with my mother, and what attracted to him, he says, this woman is so smart, I got to get to know her better. Presumably he also liked her body, although we never discussed that part. As I have said, I can see a woman at a dance who's very attractive, and I can go across the room to talk to her. And as I talk to her, based on her personality, she may become more attractive or she may become less attractive. So the body is what often attracts first. But if a person ignores the personality and say, all I care about is the body, and I'll just have to stand this rotten personality, that way leads to disaster relationships.
Exactly. Now, that I will agree with you with. That I'll agree because, like for me now, I've been dating, and I'm currently with a BBW, and I've been going down that road for the last 14, 15 years, and it's like, to me, there really isn't that much difference than dating a skinny woman, for the exception that sometimes the confidence, and I mean it all depends on who you're with and who you're talking to. It's, a confidence issue and, and a mentality issue. I mean, you can date a plus-size woman, that can be, she can be very beautiful, but, she has the brain the size of a peanut. And, she can have all the confidence in the world, but she really doesn't, have it out there. Or you can date a woman that's plain Jane on average, but is beautiful to you because you're looking more than just a physical appearance. That's how I look at it. Because I mean, my girlfriend, she is very, she's very beautiful, physically and mentally. And, she does her thing, she's very smart and she's very sharp. And one of the things that a lot of people tend to think sometimes is that just because a woman is big, that she really doesn't have it upstairs in the mental department. Well, I'll tell you this. I've met a lot of women that are very, very smart, and that will just, like, make you look like, make you feel like the world's tiniest violin playing in between your index finger and your thumb, okay? I've seen it. And it's, it's just, that's just where it is. That's where it is. And I mean, I don't know if there's anybody out there that will agree with me or not, but that's just been my interpretation of it.
Right.
My entire interpretation of it.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but we had some interesting things going on in the chat room. And Lady Tristan said, I think it's all right to want to lose weight so that you feel better and are healthier, but I don't ever believe one has to hate themselves until they do. And I think that's a really good point because me personally, I'm very satisfied with myself as I am. And I'm not saying that every big woman who wants to lose weight or is losing weight does not accept themselves, okay, because there is that option of being comfortable with your body, okay? Like, someone else who, I'm 6'4", 600 pounds, but someone else who is 600 pounds may not be comfortable. Or someone who's 500, 350, 400, they may not be comfortable and happy with their lives, and thus they may need to lose some weight. The thing is, I think that we really have to, before we get into a relationship, especially if you want to date someone who's plus size, who is happy and will stay plus size, you have to make that known to the woman. before you do that. And make it known to the man, too, because there are men now who are losing weight and who are just as body conscious as the women are. Before, big men didn't care, but now they do. Now they do care, and now they're losing weight, too. And I often wonder, that's just like an added upheaval to a relationship, to then have to fight about this back and forth of weight and non-weight. And because it's one of those things that people feel that you shouldn't have weight, then I should love you no matter what. Okay?
Over the years, I have had lots of stories, listened to lots of people tell things. I remember one woman who weighed about 500 pounds telling me she was seeing whatever it was, a physician, a doctor, and his family heavily disapproved of him, a doctor, dating this very fat woman. So eventually he married a thin woman, and pretty soon she started getting calls from the doctor explaining that he found his wife very unattractive, and could they please get together and have sex as long as none of his family members ever saw them together again.
Oh, my goodness.
What the hell?
Yeah, because, and a lot of, and I'm sorry.
He was an FA.
I'm sorry to
but
say
he was an FA, but he yielded to social family pressure and got himself into a bad situation. How that turned out eventually, I do not know, except the woman who I know as a friend, decided, hey, if I'm not good enough to marry, I'm not good enough to sleep with, forget it.
That sounds crass.
But you want to know what? There's a lot of women, and I'm sorry to say this, there's a lot of plus-size women who have that low self-esteem and who will accept that.
Yeah.
And there's for shame that even to this day, I mean, I understand back in the day, now I'm not even going to say back in the day, I'm going to say 5, 10, 20 years ago.
That's back in the day.
Before, I mean, I'm just saying it's not like back in the day, like 40 years, but I'm saying just in the past few years, we have risen so much in the size acceptance that now the average man, instead of saying, ew, you like fat girls, if a man comes up and says, I like them fat, I like them big, then the other guy will say, yo, go after what you got to go after, dude. You like that, go get that. So now it's a little bit more accessible, Mm-hmm. But a few years ago, there's no way you can get away with marrying a big girl and saying, I love a big girl, unless you were down south.
Hey, well, years and years ago, 60 Minutes came to a NAFA convention. And Mike Wallace asked the woman I was with at the time, he said, how much do you weigh? She said, 350. I said, 375. And she shrugs her shoulders and says, oh, he's always bragging. They use that as the lead-in all week to try to get people to watch that particular 60-minute segment.
And I think that's wonderful. I mean that you were bragging, be like, no, you lost, you got 25 more pounds on you, girl. So tell the truth,
But she was also accepting of the situation. She realized that to some men, her size made her very attractive, and she could enjoy that rather than worrying about trying to be attractive to men who weren't interested in her.
Right, and I think women don't realize that so many men are interested. They love big women just the way they are, and they love big men. Because I know a whole lot of women who told me they need to have a big man. They love a big old teddy bear man, and they would not be happy to have a slim man. Whether they are slim women or BBW or supersized women. So there are people out there who do love you. There are, like I said before, the FFA, the female FAs out there. They love a big man.
Yeah.
But I also wonder how much of this has to deal with nationality, too, and also on location. Because I know in some areas, like I just found this out. I was reading online about the West Indies, islands like Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and everything, that they love some really big women. They love some big, thick women, and the slim women in those countries are actually taking hormones and things that they use to inject cows and horses and chickens, and they're injecting themselves with it and risking their lives and risking their organs to look bigger. So while we're trying to look smaller, there are people injecting themselves all over the world to try and look bigger because the men in their countries like them bigger.
The variation in the United States on that is, I do not know how many, but I know there are an awful lot of women that are doing things to make their breasts bigger because for many men, our culture is so breast-oriented. And some of the women I have seen on magazine ads and such, I don't know what all they're doing to their breasts, but to make their breasts that large may or may not be dangerous. I do not know.
Right. It's very scary when you think about it, you know. And another thing that I kind of worry about, too, is women and men also who are trying so hard that they will do anything to lose weight. And they're basically sometimes even poisoning themselves. I mean, I saw a show where people are pumping their stomachs and eating baby powder and all this, and they don't realize that there's FAs out there, wonderful men and women who love them, and then even when they find an FA, they think they're joking. Oh, you can't really like me. You can't really like this. You can't really like that. And when it's really untrue. 925, I'm about to bring you in.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. 925.
925, that would be me probably.
Avery!
Comrade, how you doing?
Having fun.
Introduce yourself to everybody out there listening.
My name is, my screen name is Elf Cats. My name is Avery. And I joined NAFA in 1988. My first contact with the organization was at FatWorks 2 in San Francisco.
So you guys are veterans.
Yes, and I actually, I came with my summer school books in hand and went up the escalator, and at the top of the escalator was Russell himself, beaming broadly, and I was looking around and I was just seeing like all that was going on, and he stood there just saying, oh, it's so beautiful, the B word, somebody can see all these beautiful fat women. And I looked at him and said, how are you reading my mind? And that was the start of a long friendship between us two.
And that's
awesome.
What I'm saying. I find that so beautiful. I need to walk into some place and hear some men shout out, look at all these beautiful fat women. I'll be like, oh, I'm right here.
Often I am doing activism, especially at conventions. I will go up to staff members and say, you know, you're very fortunate. I have to pay a lot of money to see all these beautiful women in these lovely dresses. You get paid to be here surrounded by all these beautiful women. How lucky you are. They look at me kind of strangely, but hopefully they begin to realize there are people that think fat women are beautiful.
One of my nicknames for Russell is the Proclaimer. He likes to proclaim.
I like that. I like when a man proclaims that he loves me. And you want to know what, too? I have a question because now, Avery Elfcat, I'm going to call you Elfcat because that's how I know you the best.
Cool.
Now, were you a closet FA or were you one of those guys who was, like, proclaiming it as Russell does, like, from birth?
I was kind of half and half because I never was really closeted in terms of being afraid of what other people besides the fat girls would think. My problem was what the fat girls would think. And, you know, how to say it. How do you say something? How do you say something that these girls have been just trained not to be prepared to hear?
Exactly, because we are often told, society says, you know, you're not good enough and you're fat and no one likes you because you're fat. And then you have a guy come up to you and say, I love you, your fat is gorgeous, God, you're wonderful. And you go, what the hell is wrong with you? Do you have a psychological problem? And I think that a lot of FAs, are nervous about the women who automatically reject them because they say something got to be wrong with him because he likes me fat.
Yeah, so, for instance, before NAFA, when I'd write a personal ad, I would write something like, "Oh, it's okay if you're a little overweight."
When you really wanted to say, "Oh my God, you're gorgeous. I just want to just look at you. Oh my God, look at all this. It's wonderful. It's like a child in a candy store." Literally.
Yeah, and so I started raising hell on the Berkeley campus. I started writing letters to the editor after I joined NAFA, and started running, into challenges right away. Like I told you last night in Messenger, I wrote the new school paper ran an article of an interview with the Weight Watchers representative about the freshman 15, and I wrote a letter back to the editor saying, "Oh, yes, I watch weight, and I like what I see, too." And I was immediately trounced by a radical, and I was immediately excoriated by a radical feminist who had been on the Weight Watchers program.
Oh, no.
Wow. That's
on.
typical of Berkeley,
We got
too.
another caller. 412, you are with us. Please introduce yourself.
This is Lady Trickster.
Hey.
Lady Trickster.
How y'all doing?
We're fine. So what do you have to say to these wonderful FAs? I mean, can you give them some feedback since you are a wonderful, beautiful bombshell now?
Yes, I
Tell
am.
these men what you're thinking about what they're saying.
I think what they're saying is great. There are a lot of women who will sort of put them off a little bit. They're a little afraid to approach a larger woman because of that stigma that's put out there, like there's something wrong with you if you like a woman that's bigger, or, they're sick in the head or something like that. And a lot of the time, she'd be like, "Are you joking? Are you serious? What you mean you like me being fat?" And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people feel ashamed to say that they like bigger women, and I don't think they should be at all. You like what you like. I mean, people who like folks who are skinnier are always talking about you should respect my opinion or respect my preference, whatever. So why can't somebody who likes bigger people have their preference respected as well?
Exactly. And you know what I really dislike is when automatically if a man or a woman says they like a fat person, they say, "Oh, well, you must have a fetish." Which, by the way, next week's show is plus-size women. Are we a fetish?
To me, a fetish is something you do behind closed doors.
No, you see, I don't like when they say, "Oh, you're an FA. Oh, you must think it's a fetish." Because a fetish, I mean, I see skinny people doing things all day, every day of the week. I see them kissing each other and rubbing each other and sitting on each other's laps and doing all this stuff. But automatically, if you stick a fat person into the equation, it's a fetish. It can't just be someone who likes. It can't just be an FA or an FFA, a female FA. It has. You must have a fetish, okay? Because you like something abnormal. See, a fetish is what they say, something abnormal that you're sexually attracted to.
That you have to hide.
And since society sees fat people as abnormal, they put us into the fetish category. So I want to ask my FAs how they feel about that.
Well, I think there are fetishes, but there's a distinction between these things that people. I like to say, well, I mean, if you prefer fat women, that's a preference. Now, for instance, a guy might be a foot fetishist and like women with fat feet as opposed to skinny feet. There are, I would say probably there are certain fetishes that happen more often with fat admirers, but that's kind of, that's a different matter from the general preference.
Right.
It depends on how somebody defines the word fetish. But I think I just heard somebody say that if you like something out of the normal, it's a fetish. If you like something out of the normal. Well, if you carry that a little bit further, the vast majority of people in this world are not white European women. Does that mean that every man who's attracted to a white European woman has a fetish because that's abnormal?
Exactly. You know, and
Good
in fact,
point.
you know, right now I am looking up the word fetish. Do you know I'm online looking up the word fetish, and I'm going to see exactly what it means. Okay, it says an object regarded with awe as being the embodiment or habitation of a potent spirit, or as having magical potency. It also says and any object of non-genital part of the body that causes a habitual erotic response or fixation. Like, I guess, you know, a banana, or if there's something
or a breast,
non-genital,
or a nose, or a foot.
Breast. Right, exactly. So, but how are you going to just put a whole fat person into that equation?
Exactly. That person's too big to fit in that box.
Well, so, like, if I really just melt, if I see, like, a hippie girl wearing a short dress or a short skirt or shorts, and I see the backs of her knees, and I just, like, go nuts, that's a fetish, I guess.
Yeah. It also says
that I'll agree with.
Something such as any material object or a non-sexual part of the body that arouses sexual desire and may become necessary for sexual gratification. So it's talking about all these things that are not parts of the body, that are a different part of the body, you know, but they just take a fat person and put the whole thing. It's just a different type of body, something different than normal. You know?
There is more to enjoy.
You know, and I'm sorry, I don't think we're a fetish. Because like last week I said, I don't think that I have a fetish for dark skin. You know, I mean, that's a part of the body, but I just like it because it looks good, and that looks good to FAs and to SFAs, you know? So I'm not understanding of that very much. I don't think we are.
To me, it's not an argument.
Says it in a bad way. They say fetish as in something that's dirty, something that's wrong, something that needs to be behind closed doors, something you need to hide. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a category like that. Why do I have to be something you need to hide? Why do I have to be something you have to be ashamed for other people to know about?
Something abnormal. Something
why do I have to be subhuman? Why do I have to be
something
other than human?
Normally considered sexual. Okay, that usually you're not sexually attracted to, but just for this particular person you're sexually attracted to. And I'm sorry, there's too many people who love fat people for us to be considered not sexually attractive.
Absolutely.
You know. So, hold on, I have another caller, 215. I'm trying to bring you in now. Trying to get 215 in here. 215, you are with us.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure, my name is Jay.
Hi, Jay. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I'm just enjoying the show.
Oh, wonderful. So are you an FA?
Yes, I am very much an FA. And this whole discussion of what's a fetish and what isn't, it goes back down to the point of what you determine to be the societal norm, and what is considered to be, considered to be acceptable. And when you're defining it as that, then some people would consider this to be a fetish, whereas I personally don't. My preference for fat women would not be a fetish to me either.
Right, exactly. It's like a normal thing. It's a part of breathing.
Right.
It's just a preference.
Exactly.
And I think that society gets down on people who like anything that's not considered normal.
Exactly.
And what they consider normal. And I think that makes it very difficult for the women to accept themselves, and for the men, the big ones, to accept themselves. And then it makes the relationship hard for those who do love them, and they're trying to say, I love you, believe me, I love you because you're big, because you're gorgeous. No, you can't love me because I'm big. You love me for some other reason. No, believe me, I like you big. It's nice, and they don't believe it. The women don't believe it. The men don't believe it.
This is the way I try to help convince people, because if a woman says he loves me in spite of my body, the answer is, why would it's There are difficulties in dating a fat woman. It complicates life in a variety of ways. Unless there was a special enjoyment to being with a fat woman, why would a man go through the additional problems of the cars, the seats, etc.? Because any personality combination a fat woman has, there are probably also thin women that have very close to the same combination of education and personality. So if a man is going to go through the difficulty of being with a fat woman, then the fat woman should feel complimented knowing that she is something special, that this man is willing to make the extra effort to be with her, and obviously he wouldn't do it if he found her body disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And, you know, I mean, I know there's some big women who are going to say, oh, what do you mean it complicates things? And what we're going to say is simple things because society is not made for us.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about the small BBWs who wear a 14. We're talking about the women who are on the bigger side, who you hitting the 20s, the 22s, the 24s, 26s, and 28s, and like me, I don't even know what size I am because I'm so big. Sometimes I'm a 34, sometimes I'm a 40. I don't know. Who knows nowadays?
Watch it now.
I don't know. I don't know how big my butt is. But that's the truth of the matter. It is different. I just can't go anywhere and sit down. I can't go and ride the rides all day long at the amusement park with my man. I can't do that because society does not make an amusement park for big people. And there's certain things that I can't do. Like I can't, and I really don't want to, but I can't jog miles and miles and miles a day. I don't want to jog. If I wanted to, then I would, but I really don't want to jog. So I can't do certain things.
Like go to the bathroom on an airplane.
Oh, that's the truth. I can't fit in an airplane bathroom, and I can't fit in the bus bathroom either. It's small for regular-sized people.
Now, if you ride a train, they usually have handicapped bathrooms in some of the cars. Big bathrooms.
Mhm.
Amtrak is famous for that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. So it's very difficult sometimes, when you are dealing with a very large woman. So you have to really realize the man who says, I love you, mind, body, and soul, they mean that, And I have a question to the FAs also. We got a whole bunch of calls coming in. We got a whole bunch of calls coming in. So 405 and 412, we're going to be bringing you in. We just want to get these FAs talking and dealing with that. So we will bring you in. Just hold on. But, Saint, go ahead and ask your questions to our wonderful guests.
Now, basically, I have a question for all the FAs here, and I mean that goes for the ones that may be in the chat room. Basically, I want to know, have you ever been, being an FA and so forth, have you ever been, really rejected? Has a plus-size woman, because I don't like to call them fat. I know people have intention of calling them fat, but I like to say plus-size because to me it sounds not necessarily politically correct, but it just sounds more politically correct. But have you ever been really rejected? If there was somebody out there, a plus-size woman that you really liked, and that you took a liking to, and you were being a perfect gentleman and everything about it, did you, have you ever been rejected, kicked to the curb and told, well, to hell with you, I don't want to deal with you. You're just, you're putting me on, or you're full of bullshit. Have you ever had to deal with something like that?
I have been rejected many, many times, but my personality, as somebody said, Russell, people either like you or hate you. There's very little in between.
Okay.
That's true. Have you ever dealt with a dating experience in which the woman just rejected you because you were an FA?
Were or were not?
Or because has a woman said, you like fat people? Oh, I can't date you. And they're a big woman themselves. Have you ever been rejected in that type of manner or had a difficulty in a relationship because the woman could not accept herself, but you loved her as she was?
Yes. It's been complicated and difficult to describe, but yes.
Usually if that happens, it's before any date happens.
Yeah, before you're committed. You know, because me personally, I'm a woman who I've been in the debate of this with many people. I'm a woman where I will not date someone who just dates everybody.
I've been told supper starts in 8 minutes for me.
Oh, okay. Supper starts in 8 minutes. What you eating? I want to know. I'm hungry.
Fish, I think.
Oh, I like fish. Will you share?
If I can figure a way to put over the telephone, I will.
Well, that's okay. I need
This
some
sounds
fish.
good about right now.
You know,
kind of made me wish I was
good.
back at home.
You know, but definitely, if you need to go, you know, just let me know.
I'm good for 7 more minutes.
Okay, 7 more minutes. Watch out.
May I say one thing?
Definitely.
One of my thrusts always has been to try to make the world more accommodating to the women I find beautiful, especially medical facilities. I have done sit-ins in doctors' offices. I have talked and done all kinds of things. And the basic thrust of what I say is doctors or nurses or whoever say it's unhealthy to be fat. Therefore, if this is true, then you should be expecting to see a lot of fat people because the average American is getting fatter. So if you expect to see a lot of fat people, have some armless chairs, have wide chairs, and have blood pressure cuffs. And for years and years, I keep pushing on that, and the medical community seems to have more of those things. The local ambulance service for years had no heavy-duty litter. The last one I saw, it goes up to about 600 pounds now. And I think it's important for FAs to feel that this is part of their duty in liking fat women, that part of their duty is to make the world more accessible to the women they find so beautiful.
You know, I have to agree, because one of the subjects that we're going to be having a show on in the near future is going to be about health and how many of the life-saving procedures that are done are not done for the larger people. Okay? So there are many plus-size people out there, men and women, who are dying because they will not give them certain procedures because, you don't fit in this machine. Oh, you're 5 pounds over the weight limit and certain things like that. So there's many plus-size people who are dying because they do not have the proper instruments to do these procedures on a plus-size person. And I say, if they consider plus-size people the most unhealthy, then everything should be catered to us. Because since we're all going to die and have problems, why are they not making all these tables and instruments and everything for plus-size people and then on down to the smaller people? Since we're such a health risk.
On war and imperialism?
You know, definitely. So I think that's terrible. But before you leave and go have your fishy din-din, is there something you would like to say to all the plus-size women and men who are out there who really didn't believe that fat admirers existed?
Everybody has the right to exist with dignity in whatever body they happen to find themselves in. If a person is fat now, at some future point, they may or may not get thinner, but they have the right to expect to be treated with the dignity due to all citizens of this democracy simply because they are here and trying to live life as best they can. And anytime somebody tries to deny them access to the world because of their size, that person is denying them the American dream.
Exactly. And realize that you can accept yourself as you are. If you want to lose weight, that's fine. If you don't want to, or you see that you can't, learn to accept yourself and realize that you are not hopeless. There is someone out there who loves you. There are plenty of men and plenty of women out there who will love you as you are. So don't think you need to lose weight to get a man or to get a woman. You don't know. There's some FAs out there who are going to love you up.